my journey is longer than Stephanie's because I've been living longer.
Yeah. And what's your name?
Oh, my name is Valentine, everyone.
She's been living longer. She's only 10 years ahead of you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Valentine. So my journey is longer than Stephanie's because I'm a little older than Stephanie.
How old?
I'm old.
She ain't that old, y'all.
I'm old.
She's in her prime.
I am in my prime.
She's in her prime.
Yep. In order to know my journey, to know my present, where I'm at now, I'll have to take you back, a little ways and tell you that I come from a village. I come from grandmas and grandfathers and on both sides, and my mom and my dad. Father was a Navy SEAL, military based. My mom, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. Daddy was amazing. Grandparents was amazing. So I grew up in love. I know what love feels like. I've been poured in all my life. My mother parented with, it was strong. It was a strong will kind of love. Fear. She parented in fear. My father parented in love and respect. Not that my mother did not parent in love. It was just fear was presented first. Mm-hmm. So I learned to fear her versus being able to come and talk to her. Mm-hmm. I was scared.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that I fell between the cracks because I couldn't open up or I couldn't communicate to her. And when my dad would come home, I was able to communicate with him, have him guide me. So I think a lot of times for me, I needed what I didn't have in her. So as I kind of moved through life, I did not experience, I didn't experience anything bad. I was, boyfriends and things like that when I got older or whatever, 16. I think I came in contact with my first boyfriend. He was excellent. I couldn't have asked for a boyfriend, much like my dad. And, I ended up getting pregnant when I was 20. I ended up having my son at 21. And all the joy and bliss that you could imagine outside of being in labor for 78 hours. So it was complete chaos. Brought him here. He's healthy. And I had a car accident. I had Darren August 25th. I had a car accident October 4th that would completely change my life forever. I broke both sets of my ribs. My ribs cut my liver in half and both lungs collapsed. I killed the other person in the car. I underwent 4 different surgeries before they came out and told my parents to make funeral arrangements because I wouldn't make it through the night. And that was the pivot point of, I think, my life to have to endure something like that. I went through the 4 surgeries and came out okay. They medically induced me into a coma where I would stay there for a little while my body healed because my body was tore up so much from the inside. So I stayed in a coma for a little while on a respirator, not knowing that I had a 2-month-old. So my mom and dad had to step in. My sister stepped in. My aunts and uncles stepped in. His dad stepped in to kind of raise him until I got myself together and out of the hospital. And when I did, I went through some changes. I got out of the coma. I had to end up going through 3 different stages of my life. One of which I had to be put on a different floor out of ICU, and I had to kind of go through a recovery period where not remembering the car accident, but trying to understand what happened.
Right.
The lady that I killed in the car accident, father and her 2 brothers came to visit me in the recovery room. She was 32 years old. I often asked why. Why not me? Why do I have to carry this burden of this death, you know? And although they forgave me, I struggled with forgiving myself. So that would take me down a journey of itself, you know, not understanding what happened, not coming to terms with why not me? Why am I going to have to carry this guilt for the rest of my life? What did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this? Not looking at the bigger picture that he saved my life. You know, he gave me grace. He gave me mercy, but I couldn't see that then. So with the father that I have, the family that I have, my daddy often told me, you have to survive. You have to survive because Darian needs you, you know? And I think that part of my life strengthened me for everything that came after it. So what I say is I encourage anybody who is going through a slope of badness or something has happened, loss, or you're feeling guilty or you can't forgive yourself, I'll say survive. We've been made to endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning, and that's what I believe. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and we all have a purpose. And I'm still searching for mine, and my journey is searching, you know. So what am I here for? What am I to do? That car accident would put me on that path. But not only that, it made me strong from the inside out. It taught me that I can survive, that I can endure, that this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And life, I feel like, breaks everybody. And the people that it does not break, it kills. And just so happened it didn't kill me this go round. So I'm living and I'm thriving, and you know, I'm getting to a place where I can not only remember the car accident, but I can remember it in full. So it was a long process for me. And then, you know, Darian is growing and raising him, and then I fall in love, you know, for the first time with Kennedy's dad, and we have a baby, and it was a toxic relationship, and we're fighting, and 11 years you dedicate your life to a person and they don't respect you. They're cheating and they're lying, and you know, you're feeling all of this. You know, you're going through this relationship, and you wonder when will it end, and then you add a baby to it, and I'm scared to leave because I've had a child already. Darian is here. I didn't make it work with his dad, so I'm trying to stay in a relationship that literally does not want me, trying to survive with Kennedy, trying to give her a life with her dad that I had with my dad, you know. So I'm staying in a relationship of toxicity because I'm trying to make it better for her, not understanding that I'm making it worse. You know, she's seeing the fighting, Darian's seeing the fighting, and after 11 years, I decide that, you know, I'm done with this. So I walk away from that, you know, with pieces of me gone, you know, trying to survive that, you know. So then, you know, I get Darian through graduation, and I get Darian to being an adult. We get him off to college, and then in 2015, my son comes home for Thanksgiving, and I'm noticing that his gait is off. And anybody that does not know what a gait is, it's his walking. His walking is off. Darian is walking like he's drunk every day, you know. So I asked him, you know, are you drinking a lot in college? Because we all know what college does to you. They're partying and everything, and he says no. So we're in the living room and we're talking or whatever, and he goes to pick up his book bag, and Darian could barely stand up. So, you know, I immediately call his family physician, and we get him in for an appointment. And his doctor says, after, you know, examining him, he comes out and he says, Valentine, we're going to need to schedule him with the neurologist. I've been in the medical field all of my life, so I'm thinking neurologist, nerves. Why would he need to see a neurologist? And he said his gait is off bad. And I'm thinking, okay. I know a couple of doctors. He actually responded and said, we may not be able to get him in before he goes back after Thanksgiving break. I said, we're going to get him in.
Right.
So I call up a couple of people, a couple of doctors that I'd worked with or whatever. I need an appointment with a neurologist. I need a good neurologist. So we got him to Dr. Potter, and Dr. Potter examined him, walked him up and down the hall, and he came back in and he sat down and he said, Darian's sitting beside me, and he says, I'm about 90% sure that Darian has multiple sclerosis. And I think my heart stopped because I said, there's nobody in my family that has MS. And Darian's looking like he doesn't know what MS is.
Right.
He's looking at me like he was confused. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So he says, to be sure, we're going to have to do a spinal tap. And I'm thinking, oh, dear God. So they schedule him for a spinal tap. We get in the hospital, and as I'm holding Darian's hand, he's shaking. And I said, it's going to be okay, Darian. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And he says, okay. And so they take him back, and he comes back, and the doctor says, we're going to send the reports to Dr. Potter. This was a Wednesday. And Dr. Potter called us into the office on that Friday, and Darian had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And they sent us home with a video to tell us what it was, what it looked like. Darian at this time was a junior in college. And he sat on a chair beside me as we were watching the video. As Denitra is here, Darian was here. His dad was there, and Kennedy sat on the right-hand side of me. And I'm just watching the video, Darian's watching the video, and when I look over at him, he's crying. And he says, what is my future gonna look like? And I said, we're not gonna think about your future right now. We're gonna take it one day at a time. I said, and you have MS. MS doesn't have you. I said, we're gonna fight for as long as we can fight. We're gonna get good medicine, and we're gonna do what we need to do. And Kennedy says, Mama, that's why you had me, so I can take care of Darian if he gets too sick. And I said, thank you, Kennedy. Thank you, Kennedy. So to get, he's such a good kid. He's such a good kid. No, he's caused me not one day's worry. So this is 2015. He's diagnosed in November. And we go through a chain of things. By October of 2016, my son can't even walk across the campus because he's so tired. So he calls me one day and he says, Mom, what are you doing? And I said, nothing, thinking about you. And he said, I'm having a hard time. And I said, come home. He said, I can't. He said, this is my course to finish, and I'm gonna finish. He said, but I'm tired. I said, well, sit down and rest. And I'll sit on the telephone, and we can rest together. And you rest until you can get up and get to class. And so he got to class, and his professors knew that he was going through MS because, of course, I called the administrative office to let him know that everything that was going on. By December of 2016, my son couldn't even walk across the stage without help. That's how bad it had progressed. And he cried through his entire graduation. I had to put his tie on, and as I'm putting his tie on, he's got tears running from his eyes. And he says, "Why me?" I said, "Why not you? Why not you? This is a burden that you'll have to bear. You're no better than any other child out here, and God saw something in you that knew that you could carry this, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have done it. Period." That was a pivot point of my life. You know, not that I went through the car accident because I could endure it, but to watch a child suffer has been my hardest, has been the hardest thing for me. And through it all, my father says, survive. So I pass that down to Darian. You survive. We're taking it one day at a time. We're not looking at next week. We're not looking at next year. We're just looking at today. Today is a hard enough task as it is. Let's just get through today. We'll worry about tomorrow when it gets here. Until then, we stick with what we're in right now. And I encourage anybody that is going through hard times, as before, it doesn't last always. You know, you have those up moments where you're really, really high and you know that it will pass. And you have those moments where you're in the valley and you're so sad and you feel like you don't have anything, like everything around you is leaving. You don't have anybody you can trust. You don't have anybody you can depend on. You don't have anybody. It will pass. It will pass. And then you'll have a moment where it eases up a little bit where you can breathe. And you carry on. And he's doing good. And he takes it one day at a time. And we're just surviving. Yeah. You know, and 2016, he graduated. He graduated with a business and a major in business, a minor in international marketing. And you go through all of that, and he can't even work. You know, so you think he finished the course, he did the task, and then you end up here in this place of not understanding what happened. Yeah. And I waited till he got out of school, and he has a girlfriend now that I absolutely adore. She takes really good care of him, but I love that he continues to move. He continues to thrive. He continues to make it. You know, I often said that Darian he was very stubborn. He's very hard-headed. It's paying off now. Yeah. You know, so you see your child, you know, constantly pushing through it, even though it's bad. Times are, you know, hard for him, but he pushes through. And so I waited till he got out of college and got him settled, and I ended up moving to Texas in 2019. And my first job actually moved me here. And I was at my job for 1 month. And in the 1 month span, you know, I talked to my dad every day and, you know, tell him how wonderful Dallas was and how much I loved it. And, oh my God, everything is pretty and everything's big. And March 5th of 2019, let's go back a minute. I talked to my dad Tuesday. It was on a Tuesday, and we were having a conversation like we always do. And I'm at work, and for whatever reason he called. He thought it was Saturday, but it was actually on a Tuesday. And he says, "You got a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, is everything okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you. What are you doing up this early on a Saturday?" I said, "Daddy, today's Tuesday." So we're just chit-chatting or whatever. And he begins to tell me things that he's never told me before, like the favorite song that he likes, and, what he's most proud of me about. And I mean, like, literally, we have this 45-minute conversation. And somewhere in that 45-minute conversation, I knew that I wouldn't talk to my daddy anymore. He was battling liver cancer. He had been battling liver cancer for almost 8 years. And I'm just sitting, just talking, and that feeling comes over me. Make this a good conversation. Mm-hmm. And I just told him about what a wonderful father he had been to me. The courage that he had given me, the love that he had poured in me. He had been an amazing father to me. Picked me up and dusted me off, took me to get my first pad, when my cycle came on. He was present, taught me everything that I needed to know to survive without him. I didn't want to, but he taught me how to. Mm-hmm. And that conversation was the sweetest conversation. And I got off the telephone with him, and every time we got off the telephone, he said he loved me and I loved him. And he said, "Do you know why I love you most?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you're my favorite. You're my favorite oldest girl." And I was like, "Okay, Daddy, is this a trick?" The importance that he made me feel, like I was the only person in the whole wide world. So I expressed that in that conversation. And we hung up. It was about 8:45. And about noon, my mom called me and told me that I had found my father unresponsive. That was a pivot point. And got him to the hospital. And from the hospital, they put him in hospice. And I was hopeful that he would make it out of hospice. And so my sister would FaceTime me, and I would talk to him every day. And my mom called and she said, "I think it's time for you to come home." And I said, "Okay." So I got me and Kennedy a plane ticket, and I went home, got off the airplane and into the car. And I said, "Take me to see him." And my mom said, "He passed 2 hours ago." Mm-hmm. I was loved by an imperfect man in an imperfect world that poured out the perfect love to me. A man so great that God blessed me with him. To lose something like that from me, I think was the hardest thing in my life. That I'm not able to wake up and tell him how well my day went, or he experiences my day with me. Mm-hmm. Not to be able to share how my life is now is hard. And I hit the lowest point of my life, to the point where I could not get up out of the bed. I did not want to live. I couldn't. I didn't want to. I just wanted to sleep it away. And for 4 days, I laid in the bed and I cried. And Kennedy finally went back to school that Monday. And I didn't get her off to school I didn't say, have a good day. I couldn't muster up the energy to do anything. For 4 more days, I would cry. And she came to me and she said, I'm going to school. And I didn't even open my eyes. And she took her hand and rubbed it across my face so sweetly. And she said, you have to survive. She said, because I can't live without you. And I said, okay, I'll survive. Mm-hmm. I think children save our life in so many ways. Mm-hmm. They make us better people. They make us stronger people. Mm-hmm. Kennedy's taught me so much about who I am that I can say Kennedy has saved my life in so many ways, has pushed me to my limits, has taught me not only how to love her, but how to love myself in times where I don't feel like it. You know, I think the hardest part of my journey is knowing who Valentine is and standing in that. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets to tell me what my womanhood looks like, what my motherhood looks like. Nobody gets the right to tell me that. I am in a place in my life where all I want to do is love. All I want to do is give. All I want to do is make somebody else feel better about themselves. I'm in a place in my life where I don't have time for nonsense. Mm-hmm. I don't have time for things that don't grow me or don't make me happy or don't make me smile. Mm-hmm. I'm in a place of my femininity. I'm here and I am glowing in every aspect of it. And yes, I cry. And yes, I'm sad. And yes, I'm unhappy. And yes, I get frustrated. But when I tell you God has put me in a place where he has put grace all around me, in every corner of my life, he's placed someone there. And I had the opportunity not only to come to Texas, not only to survive, but I met you guys. And I think it's divine. It's supposed to be exactly the way that it is. All the hurt and all the pain brought me here. Mm-hmm. All the good, all the bad brought me here. You know, the times that I smiled brought me here. You know, so I say to the people who are struggling with depression, hold on. Because it will pass. Mm-hmm. And it may not seem like it will, but it will. Yeah. If you hold on and you allow it to take, if it takes its toll on you, allow it to take its toll on you, mm-hmm. but get up. Yep. Get up from it. Hold on to somebody, but get up, mm-hmm. you know. And it's okay to dwell there for a little while and have your pity party, but get up. Yep. You know, I encourage, you know, women that are struggling where they've lost their parents. You know, it gets easier. You know, I used to watch my dad mourn for my grandmother 15 years after she passed. Mm-hmm. And I used to wonder, like, why is he still crying? Mm-hmm. You know, at the mention of her name, he'd cry, and I'd think, why? I know now. Right. I know now that journey he was on, mm-hmm. where he mourns. Mm-hmm. Does it get easier? Yes. Mm-hmm. Does the pain remain? Yes. Mm-hmm. But you're able to survive it. Yeah. You know, so I love hard. And I say, love each other and guide each other, support each other. And I call you Stephanie, and I vent and I cry, and I call Denitra and I vent and I cry. And I know that when I get off the telephone with Stephanie and Denitra, that they're going to pray for me. You know, they're going to give me some words of wisdom or kindness. And Denitra is just raw at times, and she just shoots straight from the hip. So I know when to go to her, you know. And Stephanie is so gentle and so kind, and so I know when. Most times I'm going to go to Stephanie. I'm going to go to Stephanie, and, you know, because I think it's the delivery most times that Stephanie gives. Denitra's like, forget him, girl. You better go on, you know. And Denitra's, you know, so
Passionate.
And yes, very passionate. If that's if that's the word you're looking for. But survive. You know, encourage each other, love each other, and pick me up when I fall, and love me when I'm down there. You know, and embrace me, you know, but it gets easier.
Yeah.
So my journey is, I have so much more ground to cover, but I'm basking in my glory. And I thank you, God, for your grace and your mercy and your kindness, and never giving up on me, and continuing to watch and guide and bless me and the people that surround me. Thank you.
You did it.
I did it.
You did it. You did it. You did it.
It was hard.
Your journey is a good journey. It's a good testimony. You don't know how many people you have already helped.
I hope so.
I'll tell you all the time, you don't know how many storms you've gotten me through just by not even talking to you, but knowing what you might would say. And that's your daddy showing up in you.
Yeah.
So he's still there, and he's still showing up in you. And if you have not forgiven yourself for your car accident, forgive yourself. Give yourself grace and forgive yourself. If you wouldn't have been here, you wouldn't have been able to be there for your son like you were. I mean, I know he would have had a village around him, but there's nothing like having your mama there.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have met us.
I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have had Kennedy.
I wouldn't have.
So forgive yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Forgive yourself.
Thank you for
And
sharing.
don't try to understand why, because it's God's will. And our understanding, don't even try, because his will and his reasons of doing things is beyond what we can even understand. He has a reason. It's a full circle moment for him. He has a plan, and just accept it. And thank you for sharing.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you
you're
for sharing.
welcome. That was hard.
You did it.
I did it. It's
You did
over.
it.
Phew.